We are here. We are here. We're in the Justice League. Justice League, because again, as I shared with y'all that, we got the Batcave, but now it is the Justice League. We're in JL right now. We're in JL, the Justice League, because we are the Justice League for wherever we are. That is Chatham County, the entire United States, around the entire world. We're in the Justice League headquarters. That's right, Our Black Media. And we got with us one of the people, one of the Justice Leaguers. That's Dr. Robert Bryant, my brother. Glad to have you here on this day right here. The day that the Lord hath made.
It is. And rejoice and be glad in it. I thought you said we were in JL. I was like, don't proclaim that. But go ahead.
It's Justice League. But it could
I know.
It could be Jenkins Land, though. It could be Jenkins Land. Jenkins Land. Again, this is where all the heroes and sheroes come from. No. And so we are dealing with this today. We're doing something very special today because, again, all our guests are always special and our shows and topics are always special. And this one is for the late Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell Jr. from Oakville, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. This gentleman's had an impact. And what we're going to do, let y'all know, we're going to be focusing on some other people also that, though physically not here, they had an impact on this area, and their legacy still lives with us, and we are here. We are here. So, my brother, we're going to play a clip. We got some other clips for y'all to see, because, again, when y'all hear about this man, you all find some of this prophetic. We're going to get into conversation. We're going to get a conversation about Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell.
Right. So, you want me to start? We'll start with this one. This is pretty, kind of gets us started.
Film about a CSRA man's efforts to push civil rights in both Georgia and South Carolina just hit the big screen. His son, Bennie R. Mitchell III, wrote, produced, and directed a documentary that tells all. News Channel 6's Ashley Jones spoke with Mitchell about his father's legacy.
Civil rights has been part of growing up here. That we couldn't go in the drugstore and sit down to eat.
Genovis Gallus Mitchell remembers his brother making an impact on the community of Edgefield at the age of 15.
He made it known that this is not right. And it's still, when it happened, and I think he took a stand toward that. But he was a young man then.
His brother says after finishing college, Reverend Mitchell continued his activism out in Savannah, Georgia, spending nearly 40 years of his life making a difference. Parts of those moments captured by his son, Bennie R. Mitchell III, at just 12 years old.
The very film, during the opening credits, there's a shot of like Coretta Scott King and my father at the Capitol when they started to sign the holiday into existence. That was me, and you could tell by the elevated angle.
Mitchell calls the film a divine assignment. The documentary took more than a decade for him to put together, 2.5 of those years spent pulling together footage of his father's speaking engagements.
So I had to gather all of these things, which were already gathered. My father kept his own library.
Then he began writing his father's story, one that Mitchell felt was important for people to know.
It's important for other people to watch this, especially the youth, to see this, because they will be shoved with the same leaders. Not saying that, not taking anything away from it, but there were more than one leader that led the movement or led the direction or the people towards the movement. And just so happens MLK was the focused light on that. I wanted the younger generation to see it was more than just one person. The movement is more than just one person. The movement is more than one decade.
Mitchell says his father was instrumental to the civil rights movement out in Savannah, but his civil rights efforts were rooted in Edgefield.
When they integrated the pharmacy, they took their time leaving, and they said, hey, the country may have said that we integrated, but Edgefield has not, and we're not.
Wow.
And so just to throw that out there to y'all, Edgefield, South Carolina. Some of y'all may know Edgefield, South Carolina. Some of you sitting out there. that was also the home to Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond,
Wow.
Edgefield, South Carolina. And so now we're going to get into this right here. So Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell comes from Edgefield, South Carolina. And there's some things going on in Edgefield that's important to our culture and history. There's someone else there in Edgefield, South Carolina, Dave DeParter. Dave DeParter, that when you look at these potteries that you see that y'all might discard, throw away, Dave DeParter was an African artist, artisan from Edgefield, South Carolina. And they had also other artisans there called the Edgefield Pottery, that they had on the pottery, they had African symbols on the pottery. This is 1800. So Edgefield is important for that. But then also, now I know y'all want to get into the scuttlebutt with regards to Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond, people going to say, you know, he had a black daughter and she attended South Carolina State University.
Yeah. Well,
I was pausing. It was dramatic pause. It was dramatic pause. I was doing this. He had other children too. He had. So what the situation was, this particular black family made him live up to the obligation, but Strom Thurmond had other black children too. And those people are not recognized and they're not been out there. Because again, this particular family made sure that this particular child, that again, because he was notorious with regards to, I'm just going to put it out there, for raping African women in Edgefield, South Carolina, because they had a position that, because again, Caucasian men who were wealthy still felt like they had a privilege to do that. That's something that went on in the South, and it happened. I'm saying in the South we know, but we also know stuff happened in the North, also in Midwest and out West. But then, particularly, it was a privilege that they felt, and you have cases that involve that, even in Florida. So again, so this nuance that Bennie R. Mitchell is coming out of that environment. That environment where you got culture that's right there, tied to Africa, tied to people still holding on to who they are, their humanity, but then a system of oppression, and he's right there. So my brother, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to start with this, and just to set the context. I grew up with Bennie. We grew up right there in Liberty City. Liberty City neighborhood is one of the African American neighborhoods, black neighborhoods in Savannah. Bennie lived up front, and so Bennie and I have been to school together. The son, not the dad. So the one who did the documentary, who you all saw. Now Bennie has more gray hair than I, so I got to show that shout out to him. But let's jump right into it. Why is it important? Well, Bennie, as you grow up, you lose contact. He ended up going to SCAD, and life happens. We go our different ways. Then he ended up moving out of Liberty City for a number of reasons. But we reconnected. One thing about me, and those who know me, if I'm connected with you and I believe in you and we have a spiritual connection and you doing the right stuff or not doing the right stuff, if we good, we good. But long story short, so we reconnected. Watch this now. Watch this terrain. I'm in Virginia. I was working in Virginia. And I see this commercial come across, I think, my Facebook. And I was like, what Bennie out here doing films? I'm talking about big time stuff. So he was going around the country screening it. And he was screening it in Maryland. So I drove up to Maryland to check him out. It's my boy. I'm going to go check him out. So I went to Maryland, watched the screening. I'm talking about powerful. So why is this important? I'm a person, and by the way, it's ironic I'm in South Carolina right now. But so I'm a person who enjoys social justice. And that's the theme, social justice. Reverend Dr. Mitchell was a person ahead of his time. But the one thing I enjoyed about him was that he was not afraid to stand alone. And we'll get more into that. But I can remember, asking Mom, can I go play with Bennie? Walking to the front of Liberty City, about 3, 4, 5 blocks. And I remember Reverend Mitchell, and I'm talking about intimidating as a child, right? You're a 10, 12-year-old child, an intimidating force. But I look at him now and look at some of the clips that Bennie posted. I'm talking about just a gentle giant. So just want to start with that. And I'm honored that Bennie asked me to be in his place. Bennie now works in, out of the country, doing some things. So, I'm just glad that he asked me to kind of step in while he's, not able to kind of join us tonight.
Yes, and so that's what happened. We wanted Bennie R. Mitchell III to be with us, but he said no. Somebody else can go and do it. Somebody else. He said Bobby could do it. Bobby Bryant could do it.
That's how you know he knows me. I hate that doggone name.
I was like, Bobby,
right? Y'all don't know me as that.
So I just had to go. I said Windsor Forest. Windsor Forest, Liberty City. I was like, Bobby. I was like, so I said, I put 2 and 2 together because we Warriors do put 2 and 2 together and we come up with 5. So I made it. I know he was talking about Dr. Robert Bryant. And so that he said that is somebody who could be on the show and talk about this because I wanted us again to have this conversation about Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell and the impact that he had here in this community right here. And so some of y'all just on about, say, approximately 35 days ago, 36 days ago, excuse me, no, let me back up. No, not that. About 25 days ago or so that you all were celebrating the life of Dr. King. Savannah had the second largest King celebration in the world at one time. It had the second largest at time, the largest King parade in the world, and it is a direct result of Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell that he made that happen. He forced that to come about because when now some of you all, when he now made that call out there saying, we're not going to send our children to school. We want King's birthday to be respected, and we're not going to send our children to school. So Black parents throughout Chatham County, hear what I just said, throughout Chatham County, they rally around that. That is a powerful statement saying for me as a young person, seeing that Black people are now standing up and pulling together on something and then having an impact. And then they had to go and respect that. Savannah, Georgia leading the way with regards to that.
Yeah. And one of the things, and I think we'll play a clip on the documentary. One of the things he said in the documentary that really resonated about leaders. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. But let me speak to the MLK thing. You know, a lot of people, well, there was a good number of Black folk in Savannah that had a problem with that. And we see this still today where, you know, we know what's right. We know we need to take a stand. But this thing of dignity and decorum was a poison that we were using even back then. We don't want to shake the apple tree, Bennie. We don't want to shake the apple tree, Reverend Mitchell. Let's be nice. You know, they gave us this. Let's be nice. No. The problem we have even today is as a community being able to say, we deserve what we deserve and we're going to take it. Are you going to give it to us? Right. And so I don't remember all of the back and forth with that, but even if we look at MLK Street, people are so docile and wanted this dignity and decorum, but had it not been for him standing up and not being afraid, where would we be now? Where would we be? So I want to step into this real quick. He talks about in that documentary, you know, leaders are leaders, but then you have elected leaders, meaning we select you to work for us, right? And so we look at city council now in Savannah and around the world. You work for us, but now we have elected leaders that are working for developers. So where do we go wrong? So there's a lot of stuff that if we look to his example as a community, we should not be talking about dignity and decorum. We should be talking about taking and owning what's ours.
Absolutely. Sister Deidre Murray, glad to have you joining us. And Reverend Betty Jones, because she has some work she's doing. So again, appreciate all of y'all. And we said that all of you share. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to come back and we're going to look at a clip of a video, a documentary tied to Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell. So Mr. Producer, we'll go to our commercial.
Hi, I'm Katie Brewington and I'm running for Magistrate Court Judge. Magistrate Court is often called the People's Court because people represent themselves or are pro se litigants. Magistrate Court handles civil claims up to $15,000, dispossessory proceedings, pre-warrant applications, and good behavior bonds. I'm a great candidate for judge because I have the experience, compassion, and drive to get the job done. I have been a probation officer, a criminal defense attorney, a solicitor, and a municipal court judge, and I will take all of that experience to get the job done. So remember, vote Katie Brewington, May 21st, for Magistrate.
Boy, a real shout out. I like Katie. Katie was I think Katie was at a meeting Monday night, and she got an eye full of some real entertainment. But just a shout out to Katie.
They got to do. See, now some other people get upset that you bringing up some things like that. But see, Ron, tell that we don't sweat that. We roll with it. We don't roll.
No.
We just, he brought that up. But you see how I ain't get upset. Y'all see, we roll with it because again, some things.
I didn't create the mess.
Right. So I'm just saying. So hey, why sweat it? That's what we don't do that. And so we're going to go to this right here. We are going to go to something that I think is relevant and important when we talk about the legacy of this man we know is Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell, and we get age in some conversation about this.
Let me introduce you to Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell Jr., a graduate of Benedict College, passionate pastor and figurehead for Black community in Savannah, Georgia, a man of musical talent, and a friend to the likes of Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and who wasn't afraid to speak for his community.
We want something else besides labor. Our children got to be educated. Hutchinson Island got a project, $600 million. Bought property that was owned by black folk for nothing and making a mint. We're not getting any of it. Women are not getting no contracts of this money. Blacks are not getting any. Somebody getting it.
Somebody getting it. Same thing going on now. Go ahead.
it is so much that's packed inside there that you all hear Reverend Bennie R. Mitchell go and discuss that it's not just about labor for us. It's not just about labor. It's about education. He throws that out there. Then going to say at the time, we were going to say that was probably the largest economic project in Chatham County at one point. But then now we have the Enmark Arena. People are going to say that that's the largest economic impact in the history of Chatham County, the city of Savannah. So we see that. We have that right there. And so again, but he's speaking out against it and addressing it with regards to African Americans not getting anything that he's saying. He's publicly saying this right here. And then also throwing in women with regards to saying women are not receiving and say that somebody's getting the money and not being afraid to address it. And so that's why I'm going to say he was prophetic with regards to that, what we're looking at right now in 2024. In 2024, we're dealing with some of the issues that he talked about with the disparity of economics, because we were at the Hungry Club Forum this past weekend, and things happened at the Hungry Club Forum also that I was not privy to. But later on, y'all know Our Black Media did a show with regards to it. Again, I was on the show to basically make sure that we are going to be fair and objective. Sometimes some of us get a little beside ourselves, Julius Hall. But anyway, just throw it out there. So I just want to make sure it's fair that we deal with things. There are important points that Julius Hall brought up. He discussed some things he brought up on this show, but prior to that, at the Hungry Club Forum, talked about what's going on. And people said, we shouldn't call names. We shouldn't say anything. And then it got a little heated in it. But then what happened? State Senator Diane Harvey Johnson, she then said, yes, we should be having these type of conversations. So if it is argumentative, if it is problematic, if it is heated, we should be doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm throwing that out there to you. I'm gonna come to you just in a second, brother. So when I'm in Jacksonville on February 1st, I'm there with Dr. Umar Johnson, and Umar throws out there about that we have meetings with people that we know are not working on behalf of us and that they are not our friends, but they're sitting in the meetings and we say nothing about it. So all this right here, I'm saying, wow, we need a Bennie R. Mitchell today.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? They are here. It's us. It's those you sitting out there. That's why I want y'all to say share, share, share. You are the ones that his legacy lives in us. So Dr. Bobby Bryant, go ahead, Dr. Bobby Bryant.
Y'all gonna quit using that name, you know.
Dr.
But you know, I want to add to that. You know, we're looking for this next Malcolm, this next Martin, this next Coretta, this next Bennie. You're absolutely right. There is no next. It's in all of us, right? I'll use. I want to talk to the youth that are what I consider 45 years and older. It's in you through engagement, community engagement, through your neighborhood association, through you running for office, through your vote, right? That's where the power is. It's through your voice. And so you've got to stand up for your community. You're no longer to a place where, oh, I'm not young enough or I'm not ready enough. You are ready. And for those who are 45 years and older or the elders, you've got to allow for the younger people to work with you. Watch me now. Not give them the baton of leadership, but work with you, right? You know, I was recently in a situation where my presence and my leadership was challenged for something as simple as showing up, right? Even though I was there. But what we got to do, and people who are elders, you got to learn this here. I don't necessarily have to like you, but we have the same goals. How is it, right, that I can sit here and not like Teray and try to block Teray's leadership when we both are in the same ship? If I don't eat, he don't eat. Let me tell you what King said, and we don't, to this day, we don't get it. What affects me will affect you. What affects you will affect me. And if we don't get that really quickly, we are going to lose out. I'm going to use that border, for example. In Chicago right now, they're giving out $9,000 vouchers to people who have crossed the border, but our kids are losing out. Our kids can't go to school. Our black children can't eat. Our black children are living on the bridges. But people who are not even legal citizens in this country cannot participate because of the border not being secure. But you know what? Because we don't want to get along, or because Junebug, you know, made me mad, I'm not going to allow Junebug to talk to me. We got to stop that bullshit. Excuse my language. We got to stop that. We got to stop it. We are in this together, and we got to understand that.
Dr. Bobby Bryant.
Y'all, I'm about it.
Dr. Bobby Bryant. We do not allow profanity on Run Tell That. That's for other shows of Our Black Media. We are the show of conversation and wholesomeness and responsible people. That's how we operate. We do not engage in this ghetto foolishness that y'all have going on.
That was for Julius Hall. Julius Hall said I had one word. Julius Hall said I had one word.
and you're correct. And so and I share folks, I say when you listen and that piece that Bennie Jr., Bennie the Third, excuse me, put out there, I mean, that is so powerful and so poignant that you hear him talking and his words still are affecting us today with regard to what we need to do. And we have to assess leadership. And that's what I'm saying. We're not coming at people because we dislike them. We're saying, no, when you are a leader, there's some things that you're supposed to be doing for the least and the left out. That's what goes on. That's what you're supposed to do. Health, safety, general welfare, that's what our elected officials are supposed to do. If you are a minister, that's what you're supposed to be doing. But then we find, and I have to go and throw it out there, and some ministers may get offended, get bothered with that. But if you get bothered with it, then guess what? That means that, again, it's not about you anymore. It's not about God's word anymore. It's about you. It's about you and your ego. And we need to check that. We need to look at that. We need to assess that. So here go Bennie standing out there and speaking out. Do we see the legacy of Bennie still carried out with regards to the Black church here in Chatham County? Do we see that? There's sprinkling of some. There are those sprinkling of some of those who are out there. But I'm like saying, do we see the masses of them really doing that? Because it's even worse now. Here, there's people coming out of Jim Crowism, segregation, coming out of virulent racism, coming out of that experience. And when we have desegregation now, and guess what? We're even more quiet. And it is frightening with regards to, do we see the Black church standing up and being a part of the community? Because again, it's not just me saying this, others have said this too, that the Black church is no longer part of the community. The Black church has become a serious business right here. It is a serious business. Yes. Now, some of y'all probably say, well, Jamal, look at what Bennie did with regard to Con Ed. And that's exactly why I'm saying that. They created Con Ed to be a resource facility, a center for us. Yes. So Bennie understands the economic side with regards to that. So yeah, that's why you fell right into my trap, into my web. Because I know some of y'all want to say that, but look at, you talking about the rest of us who now build these facilities. Guess what? But Con Ed, even to this day, is still a facility for the people. In various forms, it still is accessible to the people. And so we need to be looking at that and assessing that. How many, the rest of our churches, our religious institutions are doing that? it is a problem. And that means that leadership is lacking. You're not leaders of the people, you're leaders of yourselves.
That's important. You said that. Let me step back because some people who are watching don't know what Con Ed is. I'll never forget, because this the beauty of conversation is now that you learn and you learn about these things. The man was brilliant, right? Collins Temple Baptist Church in Savannah sits on a corner, right? And so there's 4 corners, and Reverend Mitchell's vision was we're gonna own these 4 corners because there was an economic piece to it. But there was also a community piece to it. See, he understood how economic and community connected. And by the way, right behind the church was a housing authority facility. And I'm from Savannah, y'all. It's so sad. My daddy was a postman. I don't know streets well, and I don't know the name of all the housing authority locations. I just show up. That's weird how I'm built. But anyway, so right behind you had that going on. The only reason we couldn't get that one corner because KFC wasn't going, but he ended up getting the space right across the street, and he ended up getting an old building that was about to fall apart and named it the Con Ed building, right? I call it the Continuing Ed building. A lot of people have different names for it, but it's important because now we have a Black restaurant there. We have office space there, nonprofit kind of set up there, economic driver, right? So instead of selling as we like to do, we now have 3 corners where we own for our people, right? What disappoints me, and I'm about to call somebody out, and y'all gonna get mad. My great aunt was a member of Connors Temple's church. The one thing that I had respect for pastors back then, and especially for Reverend Mitchell, was let's talk about politics, and I'm going there. He single-handedly got Susan Weiner elected. He held people accountable. Now, unlike Reverend Sills, he didn't get into a debate and play sides with the mayor. He didn't play that game. But he went down to Recycus and he said, Recycus, these are the things we want for our Black community. You either going to get it done or you not. Recycus crossed him and Mitchell got up there and said, oh, you thought I was playing with you. So, see, he didn't get into the debates like the pastors do now and try to make Mayor Johnson look good. No, he held him accountable behind closed doors. And when you didn't want to act right in front of the people, he said, okay, you shucking and jiving. Let me let them know what's going on. So what I want to say with the pastor, when you want to get involved with politics, do it the right way. See, God didn't send you down here to be a debate moderator and decide with people and to make certain people look bad. Your job is to hold the politicians accountable for the community. And that's what has happened, I think, over time. They have shifted.
All right. The opinion of Dr. Robert Bryant is merely the opinion of Dr. Robert Bryant, and not the opinion of Ron Telbag. You heard me say Ron Telbag. But we accept truth. We accept truth. We accept truth. We accept it. And so that won't shy away from that. And it is absolutely relevant and important. We're going to go to another commercial break. We're going to come back and have another conversation regarding Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell with Dr. Robert Bryant. This is Ron Telbag. We say share, share, share. And this is Ron Telbag. What we have our guest today is Reverend is Dr. Robert Bryant, and we're discussing Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell. But we said y'all share, and also support our advertisers, the Davis Johnson Bozeman Law Firm with offices in Savannah, Atlanta, and Statesboro. One Price Cleaners with a business in Garden City at the farmers market right there. One Price Cleaners. And then in addition, Kim's Cafe at 714 MLK Jr. Boulevard. And again, go and get some wonderful food to Nam and Gullah means to eat. But then also we got Shepherd's Food and Gas on Styles and Gwinnett Streets here in Savannah, Georgia. And also, I don't think we got one of our advertisers. When I want our advertiser, that is Julius Hall. I don't think Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell will approve of that book by Julius Hall. I don't think he will approve of the book by Julius Hall, the one that is the X-rated one, as opposed to the PG. Again, he would go with the PG version, not the X-rated version. So again, Julius Hall said, support him in his story because he has his poetry also. Support by his poetry book. So again, our advertiser, we said support them. And so we are back right now.
But to your point, if I could, I think, let's play with that a little bit. I think right now, Reverend Mitchell wouldn't be putting up with a lot of the foolishness we see today with the criminal justice system and the wars and the not feeding our people. I just want to throw it out there to you because I know you were going down that pathway. I just want to give you a chance to get you some water.
But I also wanted to let it be known that Reverend Dr. Mitchell would not have been supporting, Bennie would not have been supporting Julius and his book that defames me. He would not be supporting that book because he defames me. I'm just putting, let me bring it back. Let me bring it back. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. This Run Tell That. This is not the rabble and the other shows. So, yeah, what we're gonna come to right now. Some of y'all heard me discuss this and share this. That it is either the late 90s or early 2000s. And you all heard Dr. Bryant going to talk about the Con Ed building that's right there, 714 MLK Jr. Boulevard, that he had his eye on that, and he was going to basically now take control and transform that into a facility for the people. It's not only that, what's going on is that I'm standing there right there at the steps of Connor's Temple, right there. We right there on Gwinnett Street. Pastor Mitchell and I standing right there, and he said my name. He said, they want this. He said, they want this. And he called me by my old name. He said, they want this. And I'm looking at him like, what? He said, they want the churches to not have a central meeting location, and then they shuttle us to the churches here because they want all of this right here. So I'm standing up there, and I'm with him standing up, and I'm looking at him like, what? So because, again, I'm starting to become sensitive to this thing that's called economic resegregation, a.k.a. regentrification. I'm not starting to get sensitive. And I'm like saying the magnitude. So I'm like, I like Pastor Mitchell. I said, so what's happened? Because the churches sat silent about this with regards to the residents for the people, and they have not come into the neighborhoods, and they started getting out. You heard what I just said? Late 90s, early 2000s, we having this conversation. And he was like, yeah. I said, so now, because they never said anything, they're not about to come at them. And guess what? It has happened. So I've been looking at this for a long time. And I tell for 3 decades, I've been looking at this and observing what has been happening, because we thought it was going to be all good, that we all going to be together. But instead, it was about getting us out of there. So they will just be there, not us. And so Pastor Mitchell threw it out there. And that's when I took it to another level. I said, so even the churches didn't speak up for us. And now guess what? They're not coming after them. So what's your thoughts with regards to this, my brother?
Well, it's ironic how this is a nationwide thing. You look at in Atlanta, a black church had to be sacrificed for a white man's stadium. You look at places like, and now watch this. Let me go finish that. Vine City now. Y'all think Vine City looks, I just want you to watch how Vine City is going to shift. You look at places like rural Georgia, how we are losing not only church land, but people's land, right? Or they're taking heirs' land. Then you look at places like Savannah, where churches are being torn down real silently. We have one on the east side just disappeared. Then the one that's important to me, not even just churches, East Side Theater. Dunbar Theater. See, let me tell you something about my dad. My mom and daddy met at the East Side Theater. They both worked there. And so we said, well, why? They're old buildings. We're not using them. You just heard what I said. My mother and father met at the East Side Theater. That's the story. Our stories. See, in the Black culture, buildings aren't just buildings. There's stories. There's history. There's links that Lillian Baptiste will tell you about. This is the storytelling that's tied to these things. That's why I love that sister so much. She's my second, third mom. But we don't understand that because we don't pass stuff down. Native Americans do a good job of passing down. We got to do a better job of that. So when we lose institutions like that, buildings, we lose stories, we lose culture, we lose ourselves. And then guess what? We don't even teach it in the classrooms, Ron DeSantis. So at some point we lose our identity and then we accept that and we assimilate that. And then we're told how to act and we're given a religion and we're supposed to practice that because that's what's told, just like in slavery. Right? So now we have started living an identity that's not even authentic or real because that's what we're given and told, and that's how we should do. And so we got to step away from that because master can't always continue to tell us how to operate. We lose our buildings and we lose our identity, then what?
Well, I'll share something again. A caveat. The opinion of Dr. Robert Bryant, the opinion of Dr. Robert Bryant, and Lillian, I will never say that you will be like a second mother to him. Y'all just like neck and neck in age, Lillian. So Lillian, I'm not going to let him.
Alex is my brother.
My sister, my classmate, my classmate. So I know me and him are like this. So I know Lillian. That's what I'm saying. It's his opinion.
Well, she could be a big sister then. How about that?
That'll be fine. But he said second mama. Whoa! I just said.
Well, I look at Alex as a little brother, so y'all mess with Alex. I'm not coming up on you.
You know, Alex is your nephew. That's what it said. He's your nephew. You
know, so I am not that old.
I take up for my people. I take up for my people.
Wait a minute. I am not your age.
At Kim's Cafe, when they talk about Julius Hall, I take up for Julius Hall, but he's not around. But yes, so we're going to go to this right here. And you were throwing some of it out, that talking about buildings. And that's something I call spatial memory. Spatial memory. When they get rid of structures that are important to you, it becomes easy to forget. When they get rid of it, they wipe it out. People forget. If you don't have the people still around to tell them about, to still lock into it, to still let people understand this was a part of who we are. Because otherwise than that, somebody else will then write the story. And so that's what's going on. Somebody else will write the story. Somebody's going to write the story about this time period right here. And some of them are going to write the story so then that way they have people looking good. They're going to write the story so then that way some people are lifted up who truly impacted us in a negative way. And so that's why it becomes so important for us to be the ones to tell the story. That's why our Black media is here, to be able to tell a part of the story. So we have a record of this right here. So when people are doing their due diligence with regards to researching, that they will then find out that there were voices out there who were telling the people what they needed to hear and what they need to know. And so that's why all this is being done. That's why we're saying, hey, we need to hail up Reverend Dr. Mitchell, Pastor Mitchell, because again, he was somebody that stood out. And then also, just to throw it out there to you, and again, we know, some of y'all know that there were vicious lies that were said about him, vicious lies about him and others, and people bought into it. And so it was to scandalize what he was doing, and that people not realizing that what the deal was, here was this Black man who was standing up and speaking out for the masses of the people, who was going against the power structure. And he had the power with him because he had the people with him. Or he had an arsenal of people who were willing to still go forward, who were not willing to just fight for one day. They were fighting for the rest of the battle. They were fighting for the ultimate victory in the war. So you got people who now got to try to besmirch his character, besmirch his name. And some people are going to try to talk about that and not realize it. But here was a man who was fighting for you when the other people who were engaging in the lies and the contempt, they were not looking out for you. They were looking out for themselves. And even to this day, you don't hear his name mentioned when you talk about the Pantheon of Heroes here in Savannah, Georgia, and Chatham County, Georgia.
Well, and to your point, Dr. Terrain, you and I were at, I forgot what event it was. And let me step back. One thing about me, I'm not going to be disrespectful. But if I'm in a presence and I hear the wrong information and I can back it up and I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to correct you. I don't care how old you are, because we got to stop being afraid to speak up. If you got enough nerve to present information, then I'm equally a part of the community. I can share my thought. So I think it was Roy that was in the room, and some kind of way we got to talk. I think the young lady who runs Ralph Martin Gilbert spoke on Bennie, and she was correct. And Roy was like, "No, that didn't happen that way." I said, "Yes, it did." And so I know a lot of people were gasping and all that, but guess what? One of the things that I honor about my mother and father is that the fact that we didn't disrespect one another. But there were times when I was growing up and they corrected me. But there's also now time for us to correct one another respectfully. So I'm never going to step out of character. But no, sir, you're wrong. She is right. And so, that's one of the things that Rashida Edwards and I talk about a lot is that, and I'm going back to what I talked about earlier with our elders and the young people. Young people and elder, we got to work like this. You can't say, "Oh, you're too young. You don't know what you're talking about." I was there. I might have been 12, 15, but I was there. At the same time, we got to allow the younger people to be a part of the conversation, because guess what? I carry a doctorate in philosophy, but I can learn from the janitor. I can learn from a 5-year-old. As a matter of fact, I was sitting with someone, my cousin. I have a cousin, a 30-year-old cousin, has not gone to college, but the brother has imparted so much knowledge on me. You know why? Because he comes from a different space of life. And we've got to check into that, because we're here. If we continue to work like this and not like this, we're not going to continue, we're not going to progress. But we learn from everybody, but everybody's got to play as a voice at this table called life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we need to make sure that we are represented and we are going to voice and deal with our humanity. And so with Reverend Bennie R. Mitchell, I'm going to say that he's a prophet with regards to one of some things that we're dealing with right now with regards to educational issues, dealing with issues with regards to economics, with regards to poverty, dealing with issues with regards to crime, because again, they're involving issues of disparity with regard to criminal activity and how people are being treated with regards to justice and equity. That Reverend Bennie R. Mitchell is right there with regards to that. Pastor Mitchell right there speaking out. And at times, there are people who did not like and care for some of the things that he said, but they knew that he was looking out for the people. You had to at least respect that. And those people who may have even felt intimidated by him, but he was still speaking out and standing up. And Roy Jackson, when he ran, he had the support of Reverend Mitchell, because Roy Jackson ran as mayor, the first African-American to run for mayor in the city of Savannah. Well, at least we say in this era after integration, that he's the first one to do that. And so I should say desegregation. And so Roy does that because we're looking at the fact that Savannah is a Black city, and that Savannah should have leadership that reflects the people who are here, who are on the lookout for them. So that's why this fight was made. And Jesse Jackson, you heard that Jesse Jackson came down here also. Jesse Jackson at Connors Temple Baptist Church via Reverend Mitchell when he's running for president of the United States. So again, he was amassing these people around him and connecting with them, so that way they could really serve the people, that they were going to do God's work with regards to helping the people and helping all citizens. So it didn't matter if you're African American, but you could be Caucasian, you could be Latino, you could be Asian, that he was going to look out for to make sure the people are taken care of, and that he was going to hold leadership accountable for that. Mm-hmm. And we need to get back to that. We need that to happen. We desperately need that to occur, because in so many cases, we see leadership lacking and falling by the wayside. And there's something I want to get into, but I'm going to wait to get into it because I may slip it in a little later. But again, you grew up in the world around him, so you saw this other side to Reverend Mitchell. What were some of the things that you see on that personal side, Bobby Bryant?
Well, we weren't. I remember going down to the house, and he was not home a lot. And I'm gonna tell you, when the man worked, you talking about somebody. You got to give credit to Bennie and his sisters and his mom for sharing their loved one with the city. Reverend Mitchell, let me tell you something that really happened. When Reverend Mitchell was out there going hard for a lot of this stuff, his wife and his family were in serious danger. Bennie and I didn't know this happened. So Bennie and I was talking one day, and I'll never forget. He said, Now watch this. Now Benny, we were at Largo Tibet, and Benny said, I was in class one day. I think he said third or fourth grade, and the teacher went to his desk and say, listen here, you little N. Y'all know what the N word means. You know, your daddy better stop doing all that stuff. Now, mind you, this Benny's in third or fourth grade. So you got that kind of stuff going on. They literally had threats against their lives. Miss Mitchell let me tell you something about black women. Black women, some strong creatures. You understand me? That woman had to carry that. Think about this. Her husband's out here fighting for us. She don't know if he coming home or not. You got Robbie Robinson, not Robbie. Yeah.
Robbie Robinson.
Yeah, who was killed in a pipe bomb. She's around here, got children out here. Her child at elementary school threatening, calling N-word. You know, we got to put all that in the context, right? And so through all that man continued to work. But I didn't really get to see until now, you know, how he was jovial, laid back, but serious about holding people accountable. We have lost all of that. Right now in city council, the only two people that do that are Alicia Miller Blackley and Bernetta Lanier. And what irks my nerves is the fact that Negroes in Savannah got the nerve to talk about dignity and decorum when they putting your people out on the street. The average rent right now is about $1,300. Your folk ain't eating. Your folk can't really get a decent living wage, but we talking about some dignity and decorum. So what is it that we want? Do we want justice, as Reverend Mitchell would say, or do we want dignity and decorum? Because dignity and decorum ain't gonna get you nothing but a pat on the back and a slice of cheese. That ain't enough for me.
All right. And so we come to this regarding Pastor Mitchell, that we see what is called economic resegregation, and people think you threw it out there with regards to just residential. It's not just residential, it's also commercial. And so that's what began to happen. That again, he's looking at it from a standpoint of not just with regards to the residential impact that was happening to our people, but then also the commercial. That's why that part of West Broad Street, now called MLK Jr. Boulevard, he made sure to have an imprint and put a foothold right there for the economic benefit of the people, for the community, that the people still had something, because we began to see gradually the decline and the loss of Black business along West Broad Street from the river down to Gwinnett. And as it stands today, the first Black business that you come to on MLK Jr. Boulevard, formerly known as West Broad Street, is when you get to Diaspora Marketplace on MLK Jr. Boulevard. And that's gone into the 500 block. So again, from the river on, and so Bennie R. Mitchell, when he now has the Con Ed building coming into being, that again, it's a way to help stem the tide with regards to that, because he saw the issues and the problems. But now to go give a shout out. And so he was able to lead his congregation in that direction, so that way some of them supported and made moves with regards to that. So again, can just happen based on him and his family. They all supported his vision, and we are indebted to them. I have to say this right now. We are indebted to the members of Connors Temple, those old guards, those old soldiers who are right there with him with regards to this, and to his family, so that way we can have some semblance of progress here. And that, again, the words that he spoke were prophetic words. And we are here honoring Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell, who's from Edgefield, South Carolina. But then his fight for human rights, because I'm going to say it's not just about civil rights, it's about human rights, and that he was immersed in that and helped some of us to understand what we need to be doing, and that his legacy still continues today. And so, Dr. Brian, what do you foresee for Black leadership here in the city of Savannah, or in Chatham County in particular? What do you foresee with regards to that? Excuse me, let me say this right here. Let me. I'm gonna back up. How should Black leadership function here in the city of Savannah and in Chatham County for the betterment of all people?
Well, one, we gotta have folk who get out of the pockets of people that don't look like them. I understand that you want to make millions by being pat on the back by the oppressor. That's on you, but you're deplorable at that point. You know, at the point where Evans Contractors is guiding how you operate and guiding your vote and making you a puppet, you have lost. the battle. You have become nothing to me. And so if you're holding the seat of alderman, city council, county commission, whatever that role may be, you are indebted to this community. Now, I'm not saying you got to just do stuff for Black communities, but that needs to be at the top 3 of your priorities. And it doesn't mean selling out your communities to SCAD. It doesn't mean selling out your communities to developers. It means telling the truth. It means making sure that while you over here giving liquor licenses to Aldi, that the Crew Lounge should be able to get theirs. It means that when you are making sure that white developers are getting pieces of these pies, that we equally give contracts to Black developers. We have lost all sight of that. But it also means that when you do wrong, you can't get mad at me for calling you out. It means that when you know you are violating the law, take consequences when you get called out. See, right now we have behind the closed door, we got the closed door deals, and y'all are making plans for the next person who will do this, but you don't want to put the right people in place. And then who loses out? Our people. Our people are displaced. Our communities are going. We right now, and I'm going to use the city of Savannah as an example, we are right now threatened to lose Carver Village. And it was a video somebody posted a week ago. Carver Village came about because a man had vision enough to spend $3,000 to buy land, and now we have a working class community. Carver Village is very much equal to Tatumville as far as look and what that meant to a community, the working class Blacks. Cloverdale and Liberty City, very similar. You have your middle class Blacks. So when you understand who you are and when you understand what your community means, you know better. But we got folk that understand that, but you will allow somebody to come from New York and tell you what to do about your people. Get yourself together, folks. Have some pride in yourself and your people. But the problem is right now, y'all want to do stuff willy-nilly, and when folk call you out on it, you want to get mad. Well, you need to be mad because you're deplorable. And so what I'm saying is this: we've got to be able to sit around the table, and that's why I love Sister Diana Harvey Johnson. Let them fuss, because you need to be called out. You need to hear these words, because we have lost all our marbles when you have allowed your people to suffer so that other people who don't even look like you get to prosper. You know what? Jamal, Julius, fire him.
What? 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 What?
Julius Hall gonna fire you.
What are you talking about?
Fire him, Julius.
I mean, like,
all right. You know what? I got access to. Let me fix this right now.
You were talking. You were having a conversation. I mean, you were having a conversation.
And actually, number 6 should be number 1.
Nobody can see that. No one can see it. No one. And so I'm going to share this with you. Reverend Dr. Mitchell said that the best high school was Herschel V. Jenkins High School.
Now, see, you lying right now.
We were sitting right there. We were sitting right there in Thomas Temple, sitting right there, because he said, Jamal, all these kids that live right here in Fraser Home, they go to Jenkins. That's where we at, right here. And on the other side over there, where the Con Ed building is, where the Kentucky Fried Chicken, all of them go to Jenkins. And these are great people right here. That's what he said.
That's how he said.
That's what he said. So I don't know why the hate still continues. Even when I have them come on the show, they still continue with the hate. Somebody put it right there. I don't know who did that. It wasn't me, but it was right there. That was said. So we've been here on this segment of Run Tell That, honoring the legacy of Reverend Dr. Bennie R. Mitchell. And what we are screaming for in the city of Savannah, we are clamoring for, we are shouting for, we're climbing the walls for, is that we have people who stand up and continue the same legacy in the fight. Because Bennie is just still.
That's how I'm looking at you right now.
I mean, that's somebody from Windsor Forest. So with regards to that he is following the same line of a Dr. Ralph Mark Gilbert.
Yeah,
because that's Dr. Gilbert's position. That's what Dr. Gilbert was about. That fall in the line of someone by the name of Reverend James Sims. That's what Reverend James Sims was about. And those of you who are Masons and Eastern Stars, you know he's the father of Eastern Stars and Masons in the state of Georgia. So and he was a fighter for the people. He's in the legacy in the same line of Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, who's from Abbeville, South Carolina. That again, you got in South Carolina, and again, the father of liberation theology. He's in that continual line of them. He's in the line of Reverend Andrew Cox Marshall, Father Marshall, who's the third pastor, historic First African Baptist Church, who's the reason why the church is right there on Montgomery Street right now, been fighting on behalf of the people. He's in the line of Father Andrew Bryan, who keeps the congregation here in North America after Father George Lyle and Mother Hannah Lyle leaves the United States and go to the Caribbean, taking again the Baptist faith with them because they're the first Baptist missionaries in the world. So he's in the line. Pastor Mitchell is in the line of those people right there, those men and women like Kate and Hagar, Samson, all the right there. So now it is time for us today to continue that line. It should not be a few of us. It should be many of us doing this right here. Yeah. Because especially when you're in leadership position, I'm talking about the leaders. We got a whole bunch of leaders. So we should have a whole bunch of leaders working on behalf of the people, not working against the people. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say his words were prophetic with regards to this. And so we got to stand up and fight for our people today. And when you fight on behalf of Black people, I share this with people. When you fight on behalf of Black people, you elevate Black people, guess what? The whole world, the whole community elevates. Yeah. Because they're the ones that have been hit the hardest when it comes down to the degradation in the society. So you uplift them, guess what? Everybody benefits from it. And you ain't got to be a genius. What happens is that you buy into the madness and the lies that you think if you elevate them, that you lose out. You don't lose out. The world gets better. The society, the community gets better with regard to that. And that's the part of the conversation that Bennie R. Mitchell and others that I had with him and other people like that. Again, that's what we're about. That's what our fight is about. That's why the Justice League is here. Our Black media. That's why we are here to be, again, the continuation of the legacy of Bennie R. Mitchell, of Reverend James Sims, of Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, Father Andrew Bryan, Father Andrew Cox Marshall, Father George Lyle. We are still here to continue the legacy of Kate and Hannah and Hagar and Hannah, and the other Hannah. So yes, Mother Hannah Lyle. So yes.
It's funny you mentioned Abbeville, South Carolina. Let me show something how the Black church is so important. If we're going to get this right, my uncle, a lot of people don't realize the Church of Christ, Liberty City Church of Christ, the Church of Christ in the Southeast, especially in Georgia, South Carolina, you'll hear a name, I.B. White. I.B. White is my mom's oldest brother. So I.B. White was very instrumental in the structure and building of the Church of Christ in South Carolina and Georgia. And so you see, as you just said, Brother Teray, Black churches were instrumental in this process. And are they going to step back into it to get people registered to vote? Are they going to step back into it to alleviate poverty and homelessness? Are they going to step back into it through education of our people? Are they just going to continue to profit, buy boats and buy cars and look and do them?
All right. So what has happened, the senior producer came to me and said that there's a clock in the corner. I had nothing to do with that. Y'all heard Brian, who's the junior producer. He was the one that continued.
It was tell Stevie Joe to go sit down.
Again, always the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. So I thought Shakespeare on you like that. That's Shakespeare right there. So again, this has been Run Tell That. We're glad to have you all with us. Glad to be right here with you. Again, we support you all of you out there trying to do the work to help our community. We support you all. That's what we believe in doing. And again, thank to the listeners, to the viewers. Thank you. I appreciate you all. Yes, indeed. We'll see y'all next week. Dr. Robert Bryan, glad to have you.
All right. Thank you.
Like this. like this. I like this.